finally finished up the shop out on this Bally Kiss pinball machine, and it turned out really good. So if you look at this playfield, it's really nice for a Kiss pinball machine because I've seen these in really bad condition. So under all that dirt and grime, this artwork was still preserved. I mean, there's like a flipper drag mark here. You got your typical kind of ball swirls in areas, but I was able to clean this up really good, buried it in 5 coats of wax, and I'm really happy how the playfield turned out. Now, I do want to talk about these inserts though. This is something that a lot of games from this era suffer from, and it's called cupping. And they create almost like a little bit of a bowl. Sometimes you can actually feel like they recess in, and there's not a ton you can do about it. If you get into trying to replace these, it's an absolute nightmare. I mean, these are glued in most cases, and it's you end up sometimes doing damage trying to get them out and putting new ones in, trying to get it perfectly level and flush. It's a major pain. I definitely didn't want to get into that. Now, it doesn't really affect the gameplay very much. If the game is playing really slow, like it was, like this game had almost no pitch at all to it when it came in here, and you would try to get the ball up here. It was like so slow as molasses. You would definitely see it like divert the ball. Now that I got it playing really fast, I put a good pitch on it. We rebuilt the flippers, went over all the coils in the whole game, and this game is playing fast and snappy now. It doesn't really seem to affect the ball at all. Sometimes if you get like a little low lob or a crazy bounce or something, you might see a little bit of an effect. But just something I wanted to note about that. Now, let's move into the rubbers. So I went with a Titan rubber kit, which was a red Titan rubber kit from Marco. And I really like the red Titans on this. I think it looks awesome. I would have rather had, I think, orange. They don't offer an orange kit for Titan unless you custom get each piece, but Superbands actually had an orange kit, and I really want to do that. It was double the price though, and I'm on a budget. This is my friend's machine, not mine. So it just wasn't in the budget to kind of upgrade to those, but I think this would look awesome in orange. But I'm happy with the red though. The red turned out pretty good. We got red on these flippers here. I wanted to make a note about this Titan kit though. So this came from Marco, and it actually comes with one extra 4-inch rubber, and it was actually missing one of the 1-inch rubbers. So like this rubber up here basically was missing. And it's not their fault. Like if you look at the manual, you will see the quantities were correct according to the manual, but the manual's wrong. And this happens a lot actually. So I might go ahead and shoot either Marco or Titan an email and just let them know to update their kit. Because, and maybe more people should do that, because when the manuals are wrong, their kits are wrong. And I have a feeling they're just looking at manuals, putting kits together, and which is understandable. It's not really their fault. But from our standpoint, it really sucks because, number one, you want to get this game done. And then when you're missing one rubber and you got to order another set and wait for shipping to come in, now you're just waiting. And on the other side, I think shipping is like flat rate $12. So if I order just one individual rubber, I'm waiting 2 weeks, I'm paying $12 just in shipping. So that's really kind of a pain. Now, luckily here, I actually had another kit from a game that I just stole a rubber out of for time being until I placed my next order. So I was able to make that work. But I just want to let you guys know, if you are shopping out your Kiss machine and you're buying a Titan rubber kit, better make sure that you order an extra rubber. But enough about that, moving back into the game. So we were talking about the flippers for a minute. These Titan rubbers on the flippers look good. So I did have to replace the flipper bats. Those were broken and worn, so I upgraded to these awesome translucent flippers. I really love the translucent red on here. As you move it, you can actually see the flame artwork underneath through the flippers, and it looks really cool. I think this is an awesome upgrade for this game. The other thing I upgraded was these lane guides up here. So these were like that nasty, dingy white that's kind of faded, almost looks like tobacco stained, and they looked horrible. So I upgraded to these yellow ones, and the yellow really matches the yellow playfield around here. It just looks so much better, and I'm really happy with how that look turned out. Now let's talk about these pop bumpers. I really would have loved to replace these pop bumper caps. They do sell these. It's 40 bucks for the kit as of the time of shooting this video, and it just wasn't in the budget for these extra cosmetic things that I wanted to do because I spent so much money on the board sets. We had so many battery acid problems in there that we had to replace. We pretty much put most of the money into those boards. But I also rebuilt these drop targets. So I did put brand new drop targets in here. The old ones were whooped, and they look nice and clean with these. Again, they also have a drop target set with the Kiss characters on it, and that would have been a cool upgrade. They were actually out of stock, so I couldn't get them anyway, but they were considerably more expensive. I mean, I want to say it was at least double, maybe triple the price of your standard targets. Now, for these, I actually like, instead of getting the ones that have the printed bullseye on them, I actually like to get the stock white Bally's, and you could buy the decals and put on them. Number one, it's actually cheaper, but what I like the most about it, decal gets damaged, you just peel it off, put a new decal on it. Whereas like with the painted one, once it fades, it fades. I mean, I guess you could put a decal over top of it, but then it's a decal anyway. So I really like using the decals and the stock targets for these. And then I can also just stock these targets. Oh, these spinner targets. So these, you can buy like the fresh decals for these to make it look really nice. So it's kind of cool. It makes it look like his tongue sticking out when you hit the ball, and it spins it really good. It's this ball game. This was the most problematic part of the game. This was probably the hardest part I had to fix on this game. Number one, it was actually working backwards. Somebody had it where it was defaulting on this side, and it was kind of like closing off this lane. So it was working in like reverse, and it wasn't really working at all. It was so sluggish and everything. So it took me a while to even figure out how this gate was supposed to work, and then get it adjusted properly. So the problem with this is it's kind of like a flipper shaft, if you think about it. The way it goes down there, and it tightens on with, I think it's 2 set screws. So what happens, and this is what happens to all these flippers, and this is why you got to replace your flippers a lot of times, because you can't get them adjusted right. Once you start tightening down, it digs a groove, or digs an indent into it. Now if your flipper starts to slip a little bit, now you're forming a groove. And then you're kind of readjusting it, tightening it again, and before you know it, you can't get your flipper. It'll always start to become out of alignment or start going limp on you, and that's problems with your flipper shaft. So this suffers from the same problem. It has a shaft down there with the set screws. So the issue is you cannot buy this part. At least I could not find it. If somebody knows where you can get this part, please post it in the description below to help somebody else out, because I could not source it. So here's what I had to do. I took a torch, and I had my buddy actually hold it with some vice grips, and I heated that thing up, and I fed some nice thick solder into that groove. Actually, I overfilled it to where there was a bulge in there. Then I took a file, and I basically filed it down. And then I finished it off with like some sandpaper and polished it with some steel wool and everything. And I actually got it solid again. I'm hoping that that holds up, because that was like our only choice, was to fill that in somehow. And now I was able to get a tight bite on that and put it in the exact position. I mean, that's another pain in the butt. I'm going to flip up the playfield and show you how this mechanism works. This is the gate mechanism right here. And you can see there's not much travel to this. And that's it. As this relay pulls in, that's all the travel you get. So it's moving on this pin. And then this pin moves this bushing, which moves your gate in and out. So there's very little travel down here. And I did have a major issue with it sticking. And that was probably the biggest issue I had. And it took me a while to figure this out. But they're using a switch up here, and I think that switch is really only being used to apply pressure for a spring mechanism. But what I had going on was magnetism. and the coil would kind of stick, and you would barely tap it, and it would release. So what I did is I took a little piece of Gorilla Tape, and I ran it across here, and it was enough just to break that magnetism so that it didn't stick anymore. So if you're having problems with it sticking, that is the fix right there. And that seems to, I mean, it's been holding up. I've probably played 25 games on this thing, and this thing has not failed yet. Now we're going to take a look in the back box so I can show you all the work I had to do back here. This was a big job. This was a ton of work. We had to replace this old power supply too. The transformer is in good shape. This rarely goes bad. I don't think I've ever seen a bad one. But this power board is always problematic. So I actually upgraded to the Gulf Pinball power supply board. This thing it's a really nice board. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt to do it. You have to take the whole thing out. There's wires that are soldered on there. I actually did a whole video on it, so I will leave a link in the description below if you're interested in seeing exactly how I upgraded this power supply, and you can watch that video. But moving on to the rest of the boards here. So brand new MPU board. Our old one had severe damage to it. So it was major acid damage. Actually, the acid damage was also on our lamp driver board here. So that wasn't working right. So I had to replace that. I wanted to replace that anyway because I was going with LEDs, and I wanted a LED friendly board, and that's really nice. So when you replace this board, it gives you like this other cable or wire that snaps onto the board, and you have to come over and tie that in to one of your feature lights on the head, which is real easy to do, but just something to look forward to if you're going to replace yours. Now, I did have an issue. As soon as I put these new boards in there, I got it all shopped up, went over all the lamp sockets, cleaned them all, put all new LED bulbs in there, fired it up for the first time, and this trace on the brand new board got hot and actually fried in half like a fuse. And I was like, oh no. So immediately I could tell which light it was because I was actually in lamp test mode testing the lamps when this happened. And I noticed like the extra ball lamp basically just was not working. So, and sure enough, when I kind of looked in the schematic, that was the circuit for the extra ball. So I had to replace that socket. It was basically a shorted socket. It was odd though that it didn't damage the transistor or anything else. It just melted the trace on the board. So it was an easy fix. I actually used some trace repair tape on there, and it worked really good. And the damage wasn't extensive. It literally just had a break in it. So I was able to bridge that with that trace tape right there, and it actually worked really good with replacing that lamp socket, fixed the problem. So we haven't had an issue since. So that is something we did here. I didn't spend the money on a brand new auxiliary lamp driver board. I didn't think it needed it. I did pull parts from the old lamp driver board, some transistors, to get the auxiliary lamp driver board fixed. So that actually uses the same transistors. So it worked out really well because I think the only functionality of that is these Kiss lights up here. I'm pretty sure that's all it was doing because I unplugged the board just to see, and I didn't see anything else that it was utilizing. So I think that is just for the functionality of this, but this was only like half working. So I was able to get that working 100%, and that's really nice. Now, I also had to repin. I rebuilt all these connectors down here for the power supply board. Somebody did some really bad wire hack job. I cleaned all that up, and I ended up repairing all the individual wires and putting them back into the connector using heat shrink and solder. I did them properly, really nice, and that was kind of a big pain in the butt to have to do that, but it's done and it's working really good. I did go with a brand new solenoid driver board as well. We did have an issue, like I think the flipper coil was burnt up on it, and there was like a big black skid mark on the board. It had some issues. So we did find that burnt coil, replaced that. before we plugged this board in. So we did kind of go over the coils and check them before I plugged this one in. And this one's functioning perfectly. It's working really good. And I like the idea of having a new board in there for my buddy, because he's not into fixing pinball machines, so I think this might be more stable for him. Hopefully this will last a while. But pretty much it's all brand new boards except two, that auxiliary one and the soundboard. Although I really wanted to replace this soundboard, and it just wasn't in the budget, and I'm hoping maybe later on down the road I can talk Richie into upgrading that board. I found somebody that made a aftermarket board, and it puts the Kiss music into the game. And it has like different sound effects and everything for the gameplay, and it's so much nicer than this stock soundboard. But the soundboard is working, and you know, we just didn't have the budget for it right now, so we put it in there. So that's pretty much it for the back here. Did notice this game doesn't have a back glass in it. He didn't drop it off with the game. He said there was some severe flaking. What I did here is I have these older bulbs. You can't buy these anymore. These are the original 1 SMD bulbs from Comet Pinball, sold back in the day, and they don't even sell these anymore. They were really weak, and it provides just a small glow. And it's actually less than, I think, an incandescent bulb, maybe comparable, but a little bit less. But I find these, and I'm glad I have these, because when you have a bad flaking back glass, these will not pierce through the light and shine in your eyes from that. It softens it, and it looks so much better in a really bad flaky back glass. And if I had the back glass here, I do have some different colored bulbs. Sometimes it helps if there's a certain color on the back glass, you can color match that, let's say with like a yellow or something, and it kind of fills that area with color, and it helps a lot. Unfortunately, I don't have that back glass here though, but it does need clear coated and put back, and that process needs done. I did have some issues with displays too. Pretty much none of these displays were working at all. Actually, let me fire it up. I did get, I moved all the displays around, of course, but two of them, there's the stock sound to start up. Two of them, actually, all they really needed was the header pin solder, reflowed. Just about every display you get, that's the first thing you do, is take them down there, reflow all the header pins. All of them end up with cold, cracked solder joints. So a lot of times, that's all you got to do, and it brings the displays back to life. Not this thing. So we got two of them working. One of them had a blown chip on it. I mean, you could actually just see like a bulge in the IC chip. So we replaced that, got that one running again. I do have one that works. It's kind of a little flaky. Couldn't figure out exactly what was going on to it, so we made that player 3. There's also one here that is missing a couple segments, but the segments that are missing aren't actually being utilized. So it was perfect. Actually, this was the player 1 display, I think. We moved it to our credit display because those segments that are missing aren't being used anyway. So that worked out really good. So player 4 is just dead. Like, I couldn't figure out how to bring it back to life. I tried. It just needs replaced, honestly. And, you know, you can't really buy these new. You can buy new displays, but they're not these type of displays. And you can get lucky and buy some like on eBay and stuff. But I don't think he wants to spend the extra money on these. We're already over budget at this point. So